be live in about, well, as a matter of fact, we're live now. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, we're already live. Well, how about that?
Yeah, so, this is going to be a special Bossier Watch. We hadn't done one of these in quite a while, but considering the events of today, we kind of felt it was warranted, and we have immediately jumped up to 88 people watching. Wow. Everybody must be bored on a Sunday evening.
Yeah. Slow news night, I guess. So I think probably we ought to go straight to our countdown, right?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that, folks. For those of you that are watching y'all and have watched this before, you kind of know how this works. We want to make sure as many people as possible get the notifications and join in, especially since this is kind of last minute. We're going to immediately go into our countdown, so we'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. Tag your friends, share this out, text people, let them know that we're live. We'll be back in about 3 minutes, give or take just a little. Live broadcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Well, I gotta say, we didn't even have to mention our favorite local church, and we're already at 354 people. 366 so far watching. Wow. Apparently people are bored and want to know what the FBI is up to today.
Well, I got to tell you, I am amazed at the quantity of people on a Sunday evening, just like you were saying, that is all ears to this. This wasn't even the public corruption or stuff that we had talked about in a previous show.
Yeah, it's pretty much, well, I don't know, not really related to that, I guess. This is a completely different deal, and so I'm just kind of checking phones and making sure the audio sounds good. Folks in the comments, we appreciate everybody watching. Y'all let us know and make sure that everything sounds okay. But yeah, and look, we're at a lot of people watching, and we just put this together an hour ago and announced it 20 minutes ago as far as doing the live show. Wow.
Yeah, things have been moving fast today in Bossier City, and we won't be beating around the bush a whole lot tonight. We'll be getting to the point. Like you said, we didn't have any intentions on doing a show, but frankly, my phone just melted this afternoon, and it melted um, around the time when we made that post, and we were like, there's no way we can answer all these questions from people without actually doing a live. And we had some people were saying, I don't remember what was one of the comments that, oh, fake news, this didn't happen, it wasn't real. And well, guess what? Merry Christmas, it is real.
Well, and look, I want to address that too because, we appreciate folks questioning us. We put out a lot of information that definitely is not in the mainstream. The vast majority of which has either come to fruition or is in play. But we always appreciate it when folks question us and want us to back up our stuff. And they did about that because the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office pulled Sanford's inmate listing off their website not long after I grabbed a screenshot of it when you made me aware of what was going on. And so anyway, we were fortunate to get that, and then I called the sheriff's office to verify what was going on, and they said, yeah, look, once a once an inmate goes into federal custody or basically whatever, then the listing gets pulled from the Caddo Parish website. He was just basically on hold there waiting for the U.S. Marshals to pick him up.
Now, hey, I did want to point out something real quick that in our preview, we neglected to have David B. Womack construction in the little thing with the businesses. We didn't
Well,
have it in
yeah.
there.
Well, I don't have that part of the intro video. It's part of what I was actually working on this afternoon when, well, all heck broke loose down at City Hall, apparently. So David's pick, he started last week, and that was interesting because we were talking about LBGTQ plus whatever and pronouns and the Shreveport mayors, and here we are this week talking about an FBI raid. Good timing there, Mr. Womack.
Yeah. So look, this is going to have a lot of, I ain't going to say a lot, but it's going to have some sources say because, yeah, it is a little blurry. Sorry about that.
It's
Nothing I
you're
can do. I tried to get it,
better now.
tried to get it focused, but we've got a little bit of sources say. But Rex, sources tell me that City Hall is a packed place this afternoon. In fact, it's packed currently.
Well, yeah, and I'm a little disappointed because when the news kind of broke, I hopped in my truck and drove down there, and I was expecting FBI vans, news media everywhere, helicopters buzzing around, people in flak jackets and all that. And I got down there, and it was
Well,
kind of crickets as usual, but I think it was probably an hour and a half after the quote
that's
unquote raid happened.
shamefully, I have to admit that I didn't give you that piece of information that it had happened about 30 minutes to an hour before I called you upon getting notice, in which that was earlier in the day this afternoon, around 3 to 4 o'clock in that range right then. And Bossier City Hall wasn't the only location that apparently the FBI made a visit to. Um, they
Really?
made they made a visit to a couple of locations. Um, I'm getting a text saying that they didn't get an alert. Yeah, well, a lot of people apparently did get an alert.
Yeah, because we're at 483 now across Facebook and YouTube. And look, we apologize a little bit, folks, because made the decision. We received some more information, and we made the decision to go ahead and do a special Bossier Watch. As a lot of you know, we normally are on Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m., and so obviously this is Sunday at 8 p.m. So we apologize for last minute notice, but we wanted to get it out there anyway.
Yeah, and everybody's calling. I mean, I can't. There's no way I can respond to everyone that is calling, wanting to get more information and more details. So we'll give you all that we have. Um, so the FBI effected a raid or a raid. I mean, or whatever they call it. I don't know what they call it. I mean, we've been bashing them a lot lately. Um, I don't know their reasoning for suddenly doing it, but they made a raid, I would assume, to seize documents and to seize evidence. Two locations, one at City Hall,
Hmm.
and two at the residence of, the officer that currently in CCC awaiting transfer to the U.S. Marshals. Where he goes from there, don't know. Um,
Do you want to go ahead and show the
yeah,
vehicles there? Yeah, let's go
well,
ahead and do that.
we'll show the vehicles.
Yeah, so let me switch screens here. Let me make sure I got my notes pull up. Let's see. All right, so this is going to be the City Hall picture, and we did not take these. These were sent to us. Um, and, again, I, had in my mind the movie deal, which is, FBI vans everywhere, flak jackets, a command post and command vans set up, helicopters buzzing everywhere, and,
I was
German
hoping to see the
Shepherds, but
jump. I was hoping to see the jump out boys. I wanted to
right.
just, guns ablazing. They're all standing at the doors of City Hall with, their automatic weapons drawn, but that wasn't the way it was.
Yeah, apparently not. So, based on this picture that we were sent, those are FBI folks right there at City Hall at whatever point in their raid/investigation. And let me pull up the other picture that we were sent. Um, these would also be FBI vehicles, although it's not crystal clear. According to the person that sent this picture, you could see the logos from the vehicle. They're just not clear in the picture because I guess they don't have them super bright white like they do in the movies.
That's right. And you know, obviously they executed search warrants at both of these locations, in which I don't know that historically if there's ever been a search warrant by the FBI executed at Bossier City Hall. That's an
Good question.
amazing that's an amazing and an astonishing thing. And I guess the next question that a lot of folks, I mean, I see a lot of questions in the comments, but the comments would be, or the next question would be, why? What is this about? Were there, uh, a search warrant? Even where's this coming from? What's it about? Why?
Yeah, and so based on information that's been shared to us, this is and there is a press release, after the fact from City Hall or whatever. But apparently, this is from some police union funds. Is that correctly understanding it as far as we know, Duke?
Well, it's said that one of the places that they searched was the police union secretary's office. Now, I never knew that the police union, when I was down there at the fire department, I mean, the fire union, they never had an office down there. And they didn't have a secretary. So that's kind of blows my mind. I mean, man, what's the police union over there doing to have the funds enough to have an office and to have a secretary to do all that? That- that's astonishing to me.
Yeah, and I did do a little bit of quick Googling on the police union earlier, and the reports that I could find, at least through I think like 2019 or 2020, showed Sanford as like the president. Maybe his wife was a secretary or something. Anyway, listed 3 or 4 people, but it showed them all at $0 salary. So I don't know how all that works, but this is interesting that there's enough money flowing through there apparently that the FBI would raid it looking for whatever's
Well,
going on.
the secretary was probably, the I don't know, the secretary for a division, maybe patrol or something like that. I mean, because they somebody has to take care of the paperwork for each one of these divisions. I'm pretty confident she was probably the secretary for one of those divisions, and then but she also did the role of the union secretary as well, too. But you know, so union funds, apparently that's what this was over with. Do we have that screen of the when it was at Caddo Parish? Did it list what the charges were? Because I'm pretty sure some of the stuff was maybe malfeasance, maybe some of that
Yeah,
kind of
let me
stuff.
Give me a second. Let me pull that up. Give me about 20 seconds. I got to transfer it from my phone back over to the computer, but it didn't really list any of that. All's it, as a matter of fact, it didn't list any of that. It just gave the status of in jail. I'm looking at it right now, and then just gave the booking number. So the Caddo Sheriff's site, as far as I saw, never actually said any of that.
Roger that. Well, you know, there's been a lot of hay made about, this situation. In fact, in a previous show with, the email dump, I think it was 2 shows ago, we featured, an email dump. And one of the things we cited was all of these emails that we get with this information that, we can't confirm, it's speculation. And of course, then we get attacked for innuendo and all that crap. Well, as it turns out, here's another little part of it that uh, is right.
Was
And
actually true. Yeah, and we'll review that email here in a second. I want to take a minute and address a couple of comments that are pouring in, folks. So, right now it's kind of hard to keep up with everybody, and we appreciate every single one of the comments from the over 500 people that are currently watching. But David, our good friend David Womack has a question, and this was asked in the comments on the Facebook post several times. Why did he go to Caddo? Because that is where the federal offices are. I think that's correct, David. The local or regional or whatever it is FBI office is in Shreveport, which is over in Caddo Parish. So my guess is that they probably took him there to question him or however that works with the FBI, and then once they decided to arrest him, that's where he gets booked because he's in Caddo Parish. That's what I guess. But if we got some law enforcement folks watching the show, y'all make sure and correct us in the comments.
yeah, so this isn't completely a surprise, and it has been being telegraphed for quite some time that there was some problems here or that there was potentially more going on. And in fact, I mean, the anonymous emails that we had been getting, cited the fact that in one case, Mr. Sanford was and I know BJ, and I like BJ. He's friendly. I mean, now I ain't saying that all this isn't that he's not guilty. I'm not saying that he is guilty. We don't know yet. I mean, you know, we are a country that believes in, innocent until proven guilty. So I would assume he's going to get his day in court. But um, BJ was accused of a lot of things, and one thing you mentioned it earlier, that apartment complex, and that there was some issues there. And in the anonymous email that we had got, it laid out, and we got several on this subject, and I think we're going to cover a couple of them.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and start pulling one of those up while you're talking. Let's see. I'm going to go back to the email that came in June 30th. Let me double check it before I put it up on the screen. So this is one that came into Proton Mail, again anonymously, back on June 30th, and I'll go ahead and read it. It says, you ever ask yourself, why did the mayor want to get rid of Shane McWilliams so bad and so fast? Why did he have to have Estes as the chief and B.J. Sanford as Estes's right-hand man? Also, Sanford, being the local union president for the past 10 years, follow the money. This is from the same person who sent us a follow-up email later on, again mentioning Sanford. So apparently there's, some smoke and some fire going on in here. So some of these emails that we get absolutely do have elements of truth in them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Um, Now, there was a comment in here. Terry Norris writes, April 12th, 2011, my father in law, William C. Norris, was murdered in broad daylight with 2 other men. At the time of murder, it was pushed under the rug by Bossier City PD. We, the Norris family, have asked for answers for years. Skylar Marvin, Low Walker, Shane McWilliams, we told to Sanford was a detective on the case. Oh,
Well, let me say this also, and because we lived over on Sheck's Drive when the Norris murders happened, so let's just say that whole situation is very interesting. I don't know all the details. I know what was kind of put out in the public. I can say for a fact is not exactly what happened at that crime scene. I don't want to share too much because that might out where the information came from. But and Terry's correct. To this day, that murder is as good as Bossier City PD tends to be on these sort of things. That murder is gone unsolved.
yeah, they tried to. Do I recall correctly? What was that guy's name? Copperhead or something? Is that some guy that they tried to put it off on, and then it
Yeah,
ended up there was no way he could have been the guy?
yeah, and you know what? I'll just share this. The way that the crime scene was laid out, it was no accident, not a robbery. Let's just put it that way. I can say that with 100% certainty. And that's all I can share.
So the moving right along, the next email, I mean, that was the first one we
Right.
shared with you guys. I don't think we had shared that one before with folks, but since that one, we had received another one.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and read this one, folks. We understand if you're watching on mobile or whatever, some of this text is kind of small, so we try to read or at least highlight the emails as we go along. So this one was from the same sender to our Proton Mail account and says, just watch the show from last night. And again, this was, a couple of weeks ago. Jacobs also instructs the PD on internal affairs cases, whether to be investigated or not. BJ Sanford had a complaint in reference to extortion, malfeasance in office with an apartment complex. Jacobs instructed Estes that it was a civil matter. Last I checked, his role is legal for the mayor and the city council. You will hear the name BJ Sanford a lot more in the future. He is also the local union president and has ties to the mayor. Stay tuned. And again, like you said, Duke, so far Sanford has been charged with this. We know that he is, on hold for the U.S. Marshal's office if they haven't already picked him up, however long that process typically takes. But he's still innocent until proven guilty, but it's just not looking super good for him at the moment.
Yeah, so in a couple of our shows, and as we have talked about with the Red Rover situation with that business um, where the city attorney directed officers to go to Red Rover and write citations to the business owners there, and we have questioned the reasonableness of the city attorney directing the outcome of officers' investigations at street level and their actions at street level. And, we were suspect of whether or not Jacobs is, in fact, directing internal affairs investigation outcomes with whether or not they're valid or not. And obviously, with whoever is sending us this information, they know this information, they know. So obviously there is some fire here where the smoke is that if Jacobs did in fact, you know, direct an internal affairs investigation to not take place here and write this off as a civil matter, obviously the FBI doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I wrong here?
No, I definitely think you're on the right track, no doubt about it. And I'm just trying to, as you're talking, I'm trying to roll through all these comments pouring in. And folks, again, we appreciate all the comments. We'll try to show a few here and there as we go, and we encourage y'all to have some dialogue back and forth in the comments, replying to each other. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to this. Somebody just commented. Let me find it here. Where is it? Somebody said, here we go. Mike Cummings Jr. said the FBI don't pick you up on a Sunday afternoon for a friendly game of pickleball. So something is definitely going on here. Let's see. Michael Ferris says red herring. Sanford had a connection to Walker for years prior to Chandler taking office. Holly Cole says, "Is it bad that the city attorney is the first one I thought of with regard to the raid?" Honestly, Holly, that's what I thought of when I first heard raid at City Hall. But as it turns out, um, right now it looks like they're after the union deal. All right, let me switch
Talk
our
for,
yeah, let me switch our
I'm
screens around
actually
a minute.
I'm literally while we're on the show getting information sent to me at literally while we're on the show.
All right, folks, and look, we are absolutely live right now, so with breaking information coming in while you're doing that, I'm going to go back to some screenshots, and I'm going to go ahead and show the press release. Now, gee, imagine that they didn't send us a copy of this press release, and we were, as far as we know, again, we're not journalists, we're amateurs doing this. We interject or inject our cynicism and our commentary into pretty much everything that we do. But we were, as far as we can tell, the first ones to actually put out any information about this. So here's City Hall's press release. A Bossier City police officer, Sergeant Harold B.J. Sanford, was arrested by agents with the FBI this afternoon. Bossier City administration officials were notified today of an ongoing federal investigation into the police union. Federal agents obtained and executed a search warrant at the Bossier PD headquarters for records related to Bossier City Police Local 645 International Union of Police Association. Could they make that any longer? According to the FBI, the investigation is related to Sanford's role as president of the union. Sergeant Sanford was immediately placed on administrative leave. Bossier City officials are cooperating fully with investigators, and Bossier City has no further comments at this time as the investigation is ongoing. So that's the official release, and KTBS finally released some information about this. I don't know, about 10 minutes before we went live. Of course, it's basically just restating this press release.
Well, I find that interesting that they basically said this is a union investigation and are dismissing it as, and that was the police chief Estes, in which I get, he's got a department to look after. He became a chief under some jacked up circumstances, and the whole way that I don't blame him for it. I blame Tommy Chandler and Charles Jacobs and City Hall for the whole way the debacle went down. But um, I mean, I guess that's the best that he can come up with. And truthfully, I don't know that he probably even did that. If I had my wallet to bet on it, I would bet that probably Chandler and Jacobs put that out in his name.
Probably so. And you're right. The investigation's ongoing. I should imagine that the FBI, didn't communicate any of this to any of the local law enforcement agencies. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to, since this is apparently dealing with the police union itself. And I'm pretty sure the FBI keeps those types of investigations close to their vest until they have to share some information. So I don't know. We'll see how all this plays out. Right now we're kind of speculating on a few things, but we are getting information as we speak.
Now the why, I have a little bit more on the why. Like I told you, there's still a little bit of information flowing in. But Weston R. Marriott has a pretty good quote in the comments right there.
Let me see if I can find that. Let's search for Weston. There we go. Yeah, let me add this to it and see if we can make it. Whoops, going to cover us both up, but that's okay. I'll tell you what, let me switch screens here. And let me add his comment again. There we go. That'll be a little easier to read. So I'll read this. B.J. Sanford had a death grip on the police union and used his position as union president to curry favor with the administration. He violated the bylaws to prevent other officers to run against him. The union had a bad relationship with the Fraternal Order of Police, and the union did not support officers in internal affairs investigations held at the behest of former Chief McWilliams. He has been embedded with power players and switching sides for over a decade, working with and for whoever has power or would be in power. What's an old saying? Power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, so more to that sources say thing, and I hate to say speculation or what have you, but you know, I find it interesting that they put it off just clearly that it's a union investigation. Um, and but I think it's going to end up in more places. If the sources are correct, it's going to end up in more places than just the fact that somebody took advantage of the union thing. Because there are some allegations out there of potentially. I mean, look, you got a guy who's the union president, and okay, he did something with union funds that wasn't correct or was incorrect. I mean, really? Does is that enough to get the FBU come rolling in with their jackets? That's what it
On a
takes.
Sunday afternoon?
I mean, are you telling me that BJ Sanford is to the level of Donald Trump? Come on.
Yeah, it's pretty close to the same thing. They just, hadn't mentioned any top secret union information, I guess. Well, hey, maybe the scope of this will just get bigger and bigger. We can only hope.
I mean, look, I can think of a lot of other information that even we have had that is far more egregious than what, is being said was the case with what is going on here. But so I guess let's take a walk on the wild side here,
Mm-hmm.
and let's talk about, what sources say. So here's the thing, guys. Again, we're amateur journalists, and when we say sources say, it means we can't confirm it. That's
Right.
what it means. That's journalists cover for, we can't confirm it. That's just it's what we're being told. But we, I think the thing for us is that we have to legitimately have a source that tells us these things. We can't just make that crap up, but
Yeah, and sometimes we might get the same basic information from more than one source, and that sometimes leads us down the pathway of, hey, there's some credibility to this particular piece of information. Yeah, so what do sources say?
so we got the obvious, and everybody gets the obvious, and I'm sure the major news media that those folks are watching so that they can get their stories down. I mean, and that's fine. We appreciate you guys watching, even though you don't acknowledge that you're watching or give us credit. That's fine. But I mean, look, this is what the new media is about, right? Doing the work. So we get that, you know, it's alleged that he used personal funds or union funds for personal gain. We get that. And we get that supposedly there's this thing about, the apartment complex in Bossier City where he was supposed to be doing the security work and he wasn't. They had this dispute. He was or wasn't doing the work there. We get that. Um, and Charles Jacobs, city attorney, he got the information. There was a complaint filed apparently in Bossier City specifically regarding that, and he dismissed it. That's a civil matter. Didn't shut down an internal affairs investigation. Now, it would be interesting to know exactly what complaint was made to uh, in that regard. Calling for an internal affairs investigation. But here's the thing: if Charles Jacobs is getting it all, you'll never know.
Right.
You will never know.
You'll never know. You're correct about that.
So sources say that there's a whole lot more to these union funds. And more importantly, sources say that where and what these union funds, what was done with them. Well, where did that money end up? Well, the knee jerk reaction is that it ended up in BJ Sanford's, pocket. But
Maybe, maybe not.
sources say that's not the case. Sources say that it ended up in somebody's campaign coffers.
You don't say.
That's what sources say. They say that, somehow or another, the money ended up leaving the union funds and going into a campaign.
Hmm.
And, you know, there's some names that the sources said where those monies went to, and it was kind of shuffled around. It went to one person, and then it went from that one person, it said, supposedly, to other people, and then it flowed into, the campaign account of one candidate for mayor of Bossier City.
Well, let's see. There were only, what, two candidates? We got a 50-50 shot of getting this one right.
Well, I think we don't even have to say a name there. I think people can speculate as to who we could be potentially talking about and who the sources are talking about. Um, what they may be shocked is who the alleged monies that come out of the union account going to an individual that then saw to it that they made it back to the account. They will be shocked about that one, but you know, I don't know. We're going to hold off on naming that name. We'll hold off on that one.
Yeah, I
Um,
would I would agree till we have a little more credibility with the information. Let's just put it that way.
Now, would that rise to the level of a raid by the FBI? Would
Well,
that be enough? Because that gets into campaign finance. That gets into, I mean, does that rise to the level of public corruption?
well, it might, and look, several people have commented, on the show and in our Facebook post comments that maybe to the effect of maybe this is just the first step in the FBI's investigation, and maybe this is just the first raid. As a matter of fact, Lisa Matthews says it's Ozark right here in the Bossier City. If you haven't seen the Ozark show series, it's quite entertaining.
Wow, at the comments. You guys are on fire. There's information in the comments. If you know where to, holy shamoly.
Let's see.
Oh, anyway, I'm not asking you to go looking for it. I'm just saying I see some stuff in the comments with you guys. There's Bo.
Yeah.
Even he's getting excited. Um,
Yeah, I'm going to put David Shelton's comment up here. He says the whole thing will be taken as a black eye for the Bossier City Police Department. Sad because there are lots of good officers that work there and sacrifice daily. Hopefully, the entire truth will surface. I personally support Bossier City Police Department. All are not bad apples. I think pretty much all of us would tend to agree with that, David. That yeah, this shouldn't reflect on all officers out there, but we've been getting this, and Duke, we've kind of called it the war between the two factions, since the Chandler administration have come into play. And this war between the McWilliams side and the Estes side, and it's just been going back and forth. So we don't want anything we say concerning all that to reflect badly on all of the Bossier City Police Department. But there are definitely some things going on that need to be reported. I mean, it's all public money.
now, Rex. Now, what I told you a while ago, that sources say that's not the only thing here. There's
Uh-oh.
more.
But wait,
But
there's
wait,
more.
there's more. Yeah. So apparently, this story may reach across the river into Shreveport.
Well, so far it already has because they locked up Sanford across the river. But what other across the river tie-in could there possibly be?
Well, again, sources say that not a fundraiser. I don't know if it's a fun. The term solicitor. That
Hmm.
a solicitor and not just there was an adjective before solicitor, shady solicitor
Mm-hmm.
that
Hmm.
the Bossier City Fire Union had utilized the services of a shady solicitor to get funds donated to the local police union.
Hmm.
And as the sources say, and I don't know whether this is true or not, that shady solicitor has a history of stolen money from the Shreveport Fraternal Order of Police in the past.
Hmm. Well, the Shreveport's only just about 300 or 400 yards across the river over there, and we keep saying what happens in Shreveport affects Bossier, which is why we talk about Shreveport stuff some. So we'll see how far
Did,
down that thread pulls.
Did I say fire union?
I think you did. I'd have to hit rewind, which I can't do at the
Okay.
moment. But
I, I'm not talking about the fire union, guys. I mean, look, police union. My bad. I guess
police,
that's.
fire,
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. I mean, look,
there is a difference,
look.
folks.
The fire department. We always had our differences, but I mean, look, we never rose to the level of what the police union had their differences. I mean, the police union. I mean, not the police union. The police departments. It seems like police departments, especially in Bossier City, have for years been at each other's throats. We talked about this in a previous show.
Yeah.
They have been eating each other up forever. I mean, I I want to see it get better. I do. But you know what? So long as Tommy Chandler's mayor and Charles Jacobs now is the city attorney, it's not going to happen while either of them are there because they cast the mold for it to be dysfunctional from the get go. And poor Estes is going to be the fall guy. Mark
Yeah.
my words. Take this to the bank. Chris Estes will be the bad guy and he'll be the fall guy. Tommy Chandler and Charles Jacobs are going to throw him completely under the bus. Now, is he was tight with BJ Sanford, or is that a relationship that was forced upon him by Tommy Chandler?
Hmm.
I don't know, but you can bet Tommy Chandler is going to say, "Oh no, Chris Estes forced BJ Sanford on me." If BJ is found to be guilty of all this.
Man, what a soap opera and what a drama. And our good friend Sammy White says, I agree, Duke. Hadn't seen Sammy in a while.
I don't.
Well,
What scares me is what did he agree with?
yeah, no kidding. And we got some spam comments the first time, but we got still got nearly 500 people watching. And again, we appreciate everybody that's watching. So before we kind of start wrapping up, well, I don't know, we may have some more stuff we want to talk about, but I want to encourage everybody, if you've got information to share with us, you can send it to bosierwatch@gmail.com, or if you want to share it anonymously, that way there's no identifying information. Go to protonmail.com, make a free account. Don't put any identifying information in your account stuff. This is literally what Proton Mail is designed for. And send us an email to bosierwatch@protonmail.com. We do look into all those, and some of them we talk about, some of them has credible information, some of them we look into and it doesn't, so we don't take it any further. But we would encourage everybody, if you've got information you want to share, send it to us because we will take a look at it.
I did get a couple of texts actually. Let me see if I can get these over talking about the Norris murder. Let me see if I can send that to you, Rex.
While you're doing that, Hayden Wallace put a comment up. Think any of this is tied up to or could lead to First Bossier's fire? We've talked quite a bit about that. So, at least about the fire and what our thoughts, and we've shared some information that I'm not really sure had been shared publicly anywhere else. That was, I'd have to go back and look at the show notes. That was several months ago. So Hayden, you may want to go back and look at some of the shows where we talked about First Bossier.
Well, I will tell you, looking at the fire investigators report, which was actually Chris Dyson was the fire investigator, and Brad Zagone was right there. I got to tell you, I'm not confident in where that fire was said to be the source. I'm not confident in where the outcome was said to be. I think there was more to that. And I do think that there may be more information out there on that. Now, whether that has anything to do with BJ Sanford, I don't know. I don't have any information. I don't have any knowledge. I have no source that has made any connection with him with this. And again, I think folks should maybe be a little bit considerate of BJ. And I mean, this is an individual that's been in Bossier City all of his life, and he's got family here. I mean, here we are talking about it on a live show, but I mean, the reality is, I mean, this is city government. I mean, it's what we do, expose corruption and potential corruption. And apparently, and I've got no respect for the FBI. I mean, I've enunciated it clearly on shows before. Um, you know, obviously they felt something was there, and a lot of people say that there are good FBI agents. Maybe there are. You know, probably is. Probably the majority of them don't have anything to do with the corruption in Washington D.C. and the ilk that we see coming from there. But I don't know. Chime in, Rex. Anytime.
Well,
I,
so
I I was just rolling.
yeah, there's a lot I have to say. So while you were doing that, I was taking a look at these two messages that you sent me. So before I put these up on the screen, the two that you just shared to me, and folks, we are live, so we're literally sending information back and forth to each other while we're sitting here talking. So we appreciate y'all being patient with us. Do you want me to bring these up on the screen? Do you want me to trim these a little bit so that only the information is showing, or?
Yeah, I think if you could trim that just a little bit to give that little bit of cover, that would be good. And then I can frame it up after that.
Yeah, so
Cynthia LaChapelle says the FBI is a government bully. I agree, Cynthia. Totally agree with that.
yeah,
And
hard to debate that.
yeah, I got to tell you, I think their structure and the way they are set up. I mean, I called for it here. I've called for it on my personal Facebook page and my other social media. I mean, look, I'm confident that this show and Rex and I are some of the people that the DOJ and the FBI in Washington D.C. when they called out for the monitoring of conservative talk shows and media. I'm confident that we're some of those guys because I called for them to be defunded, and I stand by that. I don't think the way they're structured and the way that they function, it's got to change because they can, pick one side of the aisle, and there's no accountability.
Right. Yeah, they can
There's no
just pretty much,
accountability.
yeah, they can pretty much do what they want. All right.
Roger Thornhill, can you define raid? I don't know, Roger. I'm just a simple guy, amateur journalist here. I mean, raid. I don't. What do you call it? You tell me. If it wasn't a raid or a warrant or executed a warrant or whatever. I mean, I'm no lawyer.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't a raid, then arguably Sanford could have just said, "No, I don't want to be arrested. I just want to walk away." And I'm pretty sure that's uh, not the case for this. Let me see. I was going to try to actually define the word raid with our good friend Google and see what. Well, raid is defined by Oxford as a sudden attack on an enemy by troops, aircraft, or other armed forces in warfare. So this probably wasn't warfare, of course, per se, but I'm pretty sure that those FBI folks were armed.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure
So
it
what
was sudden.
So what they did to Mar-a-Lago, that was a raid. We can clear that one up, but it's questionable as to whether this was a raid on Bossier City.
Well, here we
I,
go.
I,
Here,
I can get that.
a hostile or predatory incursion, a brief foray. Here we go. A sudden invasion by officers of the law. That's according to Merriam-Webster. So there you go. So yeah, by definition, it literally was a raid. All right, let's see here. All right, so I've got those screenshots ready, Duke. So let me go ahead and I'm going to set this in preview mode. Make sure that they pull up correctly. Here we go. Let's see.
So earlier we were talking about the Norris murder, Bill Norris murder, a long time ago or what have you. And in the comments, apparently this is a dialogue between someone regarding the Norris murders recently and BJ Sanford, who
Really?
was apparently a detective when that case was happening or during that time or what have you.
Mhm.
And anyway, I don't know what came before this, but this dialogue had started, and then you see the link to a Shreveport Times article, and then somebody says, "I haven't forgotten." BJ Sanford says, "That was a good story. I couldn't use the link found online." Didn't say, and then they said, "Didn't say what I thought it should have said." And then BJ says, "They never do. It's media." The person says,
Mm.
"Yeah, Bossier City has blood on its hands. That's what I wanted it to say." He says, BJ says, "People care more about politics than what's right."
Hmm. Well, interesting observation, and I hate to say, but I can't necessarily disagree with that. All right.
Yeah,
So let me go ahead and put up the second screenshot, which is a continuation of that one, I believe.
it was. And so the reply to what BJ said about the politics, well, from what I know, I can pinpoint 5 that had this done. This wasn't a robbery. This was a hit on my grandfather, Bossier City, or BC. He wouldn't sell his properties. Bossier City, his office sat on top of a natural gas pipeline, and the city wants to put a natural gas station right there. Their flaw, they didn't predict the lawsuit my grandfather had on him for that little girl that was killed in that fire that wasn't my grandfather's fault. Shall I keep going? This didn't take me 10 years to put together. It all made sense when cold case files left out of the blue with no explanation about why the case wasn't going to be broadcast on national TV. This runs deep. Problem is, that's my blood that ran on the floor that day. That's my blood that's cold. That's my blood that was wrongfully murdered. I have been waiting for this day for a long time, hoping and praying that someone would make it right. I see now that I wasted 10 years believing that there was some good left in this town, political and those with a badge.
Well, that's interesting because that kind of dovetails into information that I know firsthand from that afternoon. And it's unfortunate that not only was Norris killed, but I think it was 2 of his friends, guys that hung out with him at his appliance shop over there, that were also killed out of all this. And I'll just say executed.
Yeah, was it? I had understood. I mean, and anyway, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
that's a whole
I
other
think
rabbit hole.
I think there's family on the watching live, so we will stop there.
Yes. Yeah. All right, Mr. Lowry. What other information do we have to share in our special report tonight? Anything of any consequence that can't wait till Tuesday?
Well, I think that is all. We shared what we think it's about. We shared, what media reports or what the police department. I mean, it said that it was the police chief that it was a union business, in which, I guess technically, yeah, it is union business, all of it. Um, we shared what sources are telling us what it potentially is about. Um, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
it,
some of you out there are smarter than us on what would have this would have rose to the level that the FBI would have gotten involved.
right. And if it, was money laundering and all that, well, I don't think they would launder it right back through the police union. I mean, I've never actually participated in any scheme like that, but I think there would have to be some other entities potentially involved, which means that maybe the scope of this is going to get wider.
I think, and I'll say this: the sources say that they think that the scope is going to be wider, and they think that there will be other folks that will be drug into this.
Hmm. Should give us plenty more to talk about. Speaking of that, folks, again, we've still got 460, 470 people watching across Facebook and YouTube. We're streaming simultaneously. If you're new to the show or new to our Facebook page and all that, we would encourage you. We normally broadcast every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We're on show 120, and I don't think we've missed a show yet. So we would encourage you to like and follow us and join in. We welcome the commentary. Even if you don't agree with us, we welcome the comments anyway. And again, make you a free Proton Mail account, no identifying information if you want to send us stuff to take a look at without revealing who you are. Send an email to BossierWatch@Proton Mail. If you want to donate some coffee money, go to BossierWatch.com or BossierWatch.org. Feel free to donate there if you want. If not, it's fine with us because we're going to keep talking every week about more and more stuff. Anything, and we appreciate all the comments.
Absolutely. Everybody comment. Sorry, a lot of times we try to call out a lot of the comments, and to close, there's one comment that Cynthia LaChapelle just commented, and I think it's pretty cool. Thank y'all for keeping it on the road and steering clear of the bullshit. Well,
that's worth putting up there. We try to. Now, sometimes, granted, we're full of it a little bit ourselves, but we try to steer clear of as much as we can.
We do, and we're human, and we do make mistakes, but we try to keep it between the lines. We do.
All right, folks, we wish every one of y'all the rest of a good evening or whatever. Steer clear of the FBI if you can, because apparently they're on the prowl. And hey, like and follow us and come back and join us Tuesday evening. We'll have some more information maybe about this and whatever else going on in Bossier City and Bossier Parish.
Yeah, I think the Tuesday Bossier council meeting is going to be a humdinger because actually some of the stuff on the city council agenda may have some bearing on what we talked about tonight, Rex. So I think we're going to have a good show Tuesday as well.
All right, and hey, y'all go back if you get really bored and watch some of our past shows. We leave them all up online. Everything that we say and do, we broadcast publicly. So it is what it is. All right, Mr. Lowry.
Good night. Have a good evening.
See y'all later, folks. Have a good evening.